Morning, everybody. This is Jim Lobley from the Y. I realized after I posted that last video on ways of alleviating tech neck, that stiff neck that you get when you've been staring at a screen for a long time, that there were a few other tricks that I wanted to share with you. So I'm making another video here to share some of those other ways of alleviating tension in the back of your neck. Today we're going to start out with a couple of exercises that you can do using a foam roller. Now these are probably something you're familiar with. This one I got on Amazon. I've got two here. This one is a little softer. I think I got this at Dick's a year or so ago. This one's a little more forgiving. This one's digs in there a little bit deeper. So foam roller may be something you have in your closet or in a corner of your den somewhere. So you want to dig that out, and you're going to need a little bit of space on the floor because we're going to be working on the floor, and I'm going to be showing you a couple techniques with the foam roller to alleviate tension in the back of your neck. So you remember from the last video that the way that we want to work with stiffness and tightness in the back of our neck is to open up the front, right? To stretch these muscles, elongate these muscles, which allows the head to come up and the shoulders to roll back. And at the same time, we want to activate and strengthen the muscles across the upper back and into the middle of our neck. I'll explain that a little bit more in a sec. So the first exercise we're going to do is down on the floor. I'm going to take my roller and I'm going to align it vertically in line with my spine. I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see I've thrown a yoga mat down here. You don't have to have one. It just creates kind of a nice little space on the floor and some padding under the roller. And I've aligned the roller, as you can see, parallel to the axis or the length of the mat. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to this first one is to open up the chest, right? So I'm going to scoot my butt up on the roller right at the end. And then I'm going to simply lie back and make sure that my head is supported at the top of the roller, like that. Okay. So the roller is supporting me right underneath my spine, all the way up from my tailbone through the back of my skull. Okay, so from this position, with my palms facing upwards, I'm simply going to start sweeping my arms, snow angel style, up along the sides of my body, slowly bringing them up and over my head. And I've got my feet are in a nice wide stance to keep myself stable. Right there. Now, I do this a lot, so my arms, so I'm able to keep my hands pretty much on the floor all the way up. But what you may find, which is totally fine and not unusual, is that as you start to bring your arms up, the tightness in your chest is going to lift those arms up off the floor, right? So the arms are going to start to come up. And all you want to do is maybe just come to where it starts to tighten up, where they start to leave the floor. And breathe into that, again, using your breath to try and relax and lengthen those muscles across. It's really your pectoral muscles, but lengthen the muscles. So, stop at a tight point. It's the same thing that we were doing in the doorway. This is just a little bit more of a passive stretch where you're working with just the force of gravity to assist in opening up the front of the chest. So just moving, especially in those tight areas, just gently moving the arms up and down, returning down to the sides whenever you want to, whenever it feels good.
But this is a very good way of also gauging how open the front of your chest is by how far you can keep your fingers on the floor as you're bringing them up over your head.
So the second thing we're going to do now, we're going to use the foam roller more in, the traditional, typical way that you use it, which is to put it perpendicular to your mat and do some actual rolling on our back. And this just feels good. It moves the spine. It gets a little bit of motion between the facets of the vertebrae, especially in the upper back. But you want to go at it carefully and gently, and don't put too much weight into it if you haven't been doing this, on a regular basis. So I'm going to walk you through how to get into the position and then just how to gently work up and down the spine on the foam roller to press into those muscles and do a little what we call myofascial release of the muscles around the spine and the upper back.
Okay, so I'm going to start out here in this position, just kind of an easy reclining position where I'm resting my elbows on the roller and the roller's pressed up against my lower back. And now to get into it, I'm going to simply float my hips up, float my butt up a little bit off the floor so that I can start to roll up my back, taking my hips towards my feet. And as I come up, I support the weight of my head by interlacing my fingers under the back of my head, right? And that allows me to go all the way up to the nape of my neck, and then pushing through the feet, and I start to roll a little bit down the spine. And you'll notice that I'm lifting my head as I'm going down the spine. So if I'm in this position, if I try and stay flat to the floor, parallel to the floor, it puts a lot of strain on this part of my abdominals to support the weight of my upper body. So simply by bringing my head up, kind of curling my head up, it takes that strain off the front of my chest while I'm working here on the back. And then I let my head back down as I roll up because I'm not having to support the weight in that kind of leveraged position. So I want to go fairly slowly here. You may hear a few pops or cracks in the spine, and I think that's probably okay. If it hurts, you want to stop, but it should feel all right. And it might be very tight. So you can always let your hips come down, bring the head up. That'll take a little bit of the pressure off of the interface between your back and the roller. But generally, just using this as a way of giving yourself a little massage. You can move around on it, and this should feel, especially if you do it a few times and your back gets kind of used to it, it should feel pretty good in terms of alleviating some of that tension in the upper back. Okay, final move of this little session here. I'm going to set the foam roller aside, and now remember so we just sort of release tension there. The last piece that we want to do is do a little activating and strengthening of these muscles in the back of the neck and the upper back. So I'm going to be lying face down on my mat, belly to the floor, and then doing a little work to engage those muscles. Here's what that looks like. Okay, so lying face down on the mat, and I've got my arms at 90-degree angles to my sides and at the elbows, and I'm going to start by simply lifting my elbows off the floor. Okay, and my head can be relaxed, and I'm just working those muscles between the shoulder blades, floating the elbows up. And if you do that, even just that is quite an exercise. Then you can also extend the hands up and down, right, from the sides, or feel free to do the same motion that we did on the front of just sweeping the arms up and down. And that's going to engage all of the muscles around the backs of your shoulder blades and along the spine of your upper back. Just like anything like that, you could go even alternating like that. Okay. Whew. Okay. And the final part of this is working the muscles of the neck itself, the muscles that are supporting, these deep muscles that are supporting the weight of your head, right? Now you remember the exercise we were doing with the towel. This is basically replicating that on the floor, again, just using gravity as the force that we're working with rather than an applied force with the towel. So here I am lying face down, and all I'm going to do is just lift my head up off the ground. And what you'll see is that, so I'm thinking about bringing my jaw back. My face is staying parallel to the floor, and I'm simply moving, shifting my head backwards or upwards, as opposed to doing this, looking up, right? Which is sort of like a more typical sort of cobra, yoga pose. But here, I'm actually just lifting through the back of my neck. And that's working these muscles, deep muscles of the cervical spine to help engage and support the weight of my head. So that when I take that into a vertical position, I've got that deep muscular support to prevent the stress on the back of the neck. Okay, so that's it. Ways of opening the chest, using the foam roller, and then doing some simple exercises to engage and strengthen the back. Hope that was helpful. I'm going to be doing one more video on this topic, which I'll be posting in the next couple of days, and that is going to be a few stretches that you can do that may also be helpful, as you're sitting at your desk to, alleviate some of that tension. All right, have a great day. See you all soon. Thanks.